Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Salim Akhtar Malik, your host at the Observation Post channel. This channel is dedicated to discussing issues of national and international importance. In my last video on doomsday scenarios, I had discussed about the so-called dirty bomb and the clean bomb. Whereas I had given you the details about the makeup and employment of a dirty bomb, also known as the radiation bomb, I had somehow forgotten about giving you uh, similar details about the clean bomb. Hence, this video is a sequel to the last video in which I'll be sharing some information. I'll be repeating some information which I had given in the last video in order to create a wholesome picture. So we'll be talking about the clean bomb. In my last video, I had stated that in 1998, when the Indians had carried out nuclear explosions at Pokhran in the Indian state of Rajasthan, they had claimed that they had also tested miniature thermonuclear devices. A thermonuclear device is also known as hydrogen bomb. So a miniature thermonuclear device is a low yield hydrogen bomb. It is also called enhanced radiation bomb or neutron bomb. We'll talk about these in detail. So I want to tell you here that a neutron bomb is also known as the clean bomb. We'll talk about them in detail subsequently in this uh, video. Let me take you back to my last video in which I had stated uh, that the Indians had claimed of testing miniature thermonuclear bombs or miniature thermonuclear devices. The CIA had reacted promptly to the Indian claim and rebutted it. It said the seismic stations and uh, nuclear sensors put up by the Americans inside India did not record any low yield nuclear weapon tests. It was suspected that under the smoke screen of Indian nuclear tests, the Israelis, who are strategic allies of India, had also got tested. Their low yield nuclear weapons may be neutron bombs as well as artillery shells. We all know that Israel is an undeclared nuclear power which has over the years maintained an aura of ambiguity about its nuclear program. So, why were the Americans rebutting? And why should we take them by their word? The CIA has a recorded history of carrying out nuclear espionage in India. And I repeat that in October 1965, that is soon after the Indo-Pakistan War, the CIA had teamed up with the Indian Intelligence Bureau to spy on China's missile program. China had carried out its first nuclear explosion in 1964 and had soon thereafter established a missile testing range in Tibet close to the Sino-Indian border. So, teaming up with the Indian Intelligence Bureau, the CIA had installed between 1965 and 1967 two sets of nuclear powered remote sensing devices to gain information about the missile tests which the Chinese were carrying out just across the border in Tibet. Long and short of it, I discussed in detail what had happened. It was in my last video. Both the nuclear powered remote sensing devices lie abundant in India's Garhwal Himalayas region, the same region where recently a glacier known as Ganga Rishi Glacier had collapsed, causing deaths and damage to equipment, particularly a number of hydroelectric power stations which the Indians were constructing in that area. The abundant nuclear sensors lying buried under the snow in this region are contaminating, causing nuclear contamination to the glaciers, which feed into the Ganga river system, and they are threatening human lives, millions of human lives, all the way up to Kolkata. In 1968, Captain Manmohan Singh Kohli, who was the expedition leader in one of the expeditions which were sent to install the nuclear powered remote sensing devices. He was sent again in 1968 to retrieve the second set of equipment which was buried under the snow. In 2005, he had written a book, One More Step. It was published by Penguin India, and in that book, Manmohan Singh Kohli, that is Captain Manmohan Singh Kohli, writes, and I will read out to you this excerpt from his book. He says, when the team reached the dome, that is the Nandakot dome, where the device was installed, they were shocked to see no sign of the entire equipment. They dug a couple of feet and saw an amazing sight. There was a perfectly sound cave formed with the hot generator at the center. With the continuous heat emitted from the generator, the snow had melted 8 feet in all directions, creating the spherical cave. Now we proceed towards the clean bomb. So I had given you a link with the last video which I had presented to you, in which I had discussed the dirty bomb. In this session, we'll be discussing the clean bomb or the neutron bomb. Now, before going towards describing the neutron bomb, let me tell you in a layman's language the two main types of nuclear weapons. This will help you in understanding about the neutron bomb. The two types of nuclear weapons are the fission bombs and the fusion bomb. Now, fission and fusion are two processes. A fission bomb is also known as the atomic bomb, the bomb about which we hear uh, quite often. The fission bomb operates on the principle of splitting the nucleus of an atom into subatomic particles which release a tremendous amount of energy in the form of heat, light, radioactivity, and electromagnetic radiation. This is an atomic bomb or a fission bomb. A fusion bomb, which is also known as the hydrogen bomb, operates on the principle of fusing together the hydrogen isotopes. So, a hydrogen bomb has a nucleus which consists of an atomic bomb, a miniature atomic bomb, which, when exploded, creates it creates tremendous energy which fuses together the hydrogen isotopes inside the bomb. And this again creates a tremendous amount of energy. So these are the two types of nuclear weapons. A neutron bomb, as I said, is a miniature hydrogen bomb. The concept was developed by the concept of the technology of neutron bomb was developed by the Americans during the 1950s and 1960s as a response to the Soviet armor threat across the border from West Germany. Now, during the Cold War, the armies, the NATO armies, and as well as the armies of Warsaw Pact, headed by the Soviet Union, were arrayed against each other across the border from West Germany. So, across the border was East Germany. On that side was Warsaw Pact countries headed by the Soviet Union, the erstwhile Soviet Union. On this side, that is West German side, were the NATO forces headed by the United States. Now, at that time, the Soviet Union, which was controlling the Warsaw Pact, had superiority, conventional superiority, that is, superiority in conventional forces over the NATO countries. So, most threatening were the Soviet armored divisions. And since the NATO countries didn't have that much armor, so the Americans developed the neutron bomb, which would destroy the enemy forces within a radius of 1,000 meters, approximately a radius of 1,000 meters around the point of impact. And that is why it was called a clean bomb, because would cause destruction to both the human beings, that is, to both the life as well as equipment within that 1000-meter radius around the point of impact. But beyond that, it would only cause damage to or cause death to human beings. A neutron bomb, as I said, is a miniature thermonuclear bomb which, when exploded, emits a tremendous amount of neutrons. And this amount of neutrons is 10 times more than what is emitted in a nuclear bomb, that is, in an atomic bomb. So that's why it is called enhanced radiation bomb. Now, technically speaking, every nuclear weapon, whether it is a fission weapon or a fusion weapon, every low yield nuclear weapon up to a yield of 10 kilotons emits radiation. So it is considered a radiation weapon. And Pakistan's tactical nuclear missile, Nasr, is also, uh, technically speaking, a radiation bomb. It creates a radiation, that is neutron radiation, which kills the people but causes damage to the enemy equipment only within a small radius around the point of impact. Now, how the neutron bomb as a technical or the tactical nuclear weapon like Nasr is related to India and Pakistan, the India and Pakistan confrontation. In 1990s, the Indians under their Chief of Army Staff, General Sundarji, were rediscovering uh, armored warfare or mechanized warfare. The Indian Army, which up till then was geared towards uh, infantry operations, was excited with the thought of Indian armored divisions, or to be more precise, armored combat groups organized by Sundarji. They were excited that these armored combat groups would stream into Pakistan, Sindh, and Punjab provinces in the event of a war. And thus was evolved the controversial or so-called doctrine, which was known as the Cold Star Doctrine. Now, Cold Star Doctrine talked about uh, launching a quick punitive operation through a shallow penetration inside the enemy territory in response to the enemy crossing a declared red line, causing damage to the enemy troops as well as equipment, and then carrying out a swift withdrawal, thus denying the enemy to retaliate, thus denying the enemy the excuse to retaliate. That was the concept behind the Cold War doctrine. It was basically a reactive doctrine which aimed at creating a 71 like situation, that is a situation which would lead Pakistan or channelize Pakistan into taking actions which would be considered as an excuse by India to launch a strike, an armored strike. But Pakistan countered the threat from the Cold War doctrine by developing Nasr, tactical nuclear missile. This missile has a yield of up to 5 kilotons and has a range of 70 kilometers. Since it has a yield, it has a yield of up to 5 kilotons, it is technically a radiation bomb. It also emits neutron radiation, which will cause death to the enemy crews, tank crews, as well as other uh, troops. But beyond a certain radius would leave the equipment intact. Now, finally, let me tell you that during the last half a century, warfare has evolved from the dirty bomb and the clean bomb to non-kinetic weapons. So the kinetic war has been superseded by non-kinetic war. In a non-kinetic war, weapons, non-kinetic weapons will be used, which are called electromagnetic pulse weapons. Now, an electromagnetic pulse weapon is a weapon which uses intense electromagnetic field to create a short burst of energy which short circuits enemies' nuclear system, enemies' electronic devices, such as computers, satellites, radars, radar receivers, and even the civilian traffic lights. It cripples or destroys enemies' national grids having nodes of telecommunications, electricity, transportation, as well as uh, oil and gas pipelines, etc. When this happens, the government collapses, the central government collapses, and the war ends even before it starts. This is the concept. This is what I wanted to share with you in this session. We'll talk more about such issues in the future. Till then, bye bye.